So today I want to talk about a concept that I feel has gotten lost in this community, and I really want to bring this one back around because the importance of it cannot be emphasized enough. And I'm talking about the drowsy state here. I'm talking about that state akin to sleep. Sadly, there's been a lot of misconceptions about SATS. There's been a lot of confusion and frustration. So naturally, it's one that's been kind of buried or a bit obscured, which is really, really unfortunate because this is such an incredibly powerful tool that if we are not taking advantage of, we may just be making things harder for ourselves than they need to be. So today I want to talk about that drowsy state. I want to clear up some misconceptions about it. I want to give you guys a better understanding of it and why you should be making sure to utilize that state akin to sleep for the best and fastest and most lasting results. By the way, hi, I'm Missy Renee. And on this channel, we talk all things manifestation and the law of assumption. So if that is something that you want to learn more about, then definitely be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for notifications, and if you enjoy my videos, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you are interested in any of my resources, such as my coaching programs, masterclasses, and workshops, I have links to all of that down in the description box below, so don't forget to check that out. Also be sure to stick around because I'm going to give you guys 4 tips or 4 things that you need to know to better your practice when it comes to SATS, or imagining in that drowsy state. So first, let's talk about SATS, because there are quite a few misconceptions around SATS that I think are really important to understand and to clear up. SATS is an acronym for the state akin to sleep. It is that groggy, drowsy twilight period between wakefulness and full-on unconsciousness sleep, REM sleep. Essentially, it's that groggy, sleepy period or deeply meditative-like state. And all of us are naturally moving through this state akin to sleep twice in every day, once before bed and once when we are waking up in the morning. The medical definition before sleep is known as hypnagogia, and the medical definition before waking up in the morning is hypnopompia. And these windows are incredibly powerful windows that we really want to make sure that we are taking advantage of in the morning and in the evening before bed. There is a reason that Neville went on and on and on about SATS and why it was the main technique that he used and talked about. And that is because of the power that the hypnagogic state holds, or the hypnopompic state. And that's the power that we have in that SATS-like state. And there's actually interesting research out there when it comes to our abilities in the hypnagogic state. Not a lot of research has been done, so there's still a lot of mystery surrounding the state, but research has shown that in that hypnagogic state, reflective thought, or our ability to evaluate ongoing experience, declined quickly in this hypnagogic state, while simultaneously, thoughts about interaction with the imaginary world increased in this state. Simply put, when you are in this SATS-like state, you are much better able to shut out the 3D world and the critical mind that comes with it and better interact with the imaginal world. Essentially, this is going to allow you to experience your imaginal acts with much less resistance. And that is the entire point and idea of what we are aiming to do here. And this is much, much simpler to achieve when we are in that drowsy state. Whereas for many people, the emphasis and focus is on trying to battle the conscious mind in the day-to-day. For many people, their focus is on trying to fight and wrestle the subconscious mind in the wakeful hours, which is probably the least effective approach, if we're being real here. Where many people find themselves fighting against resistance, fighting backlash, and dealing with the internal struggle is when they are trying to manifest in the day-to-day. That is where we are most susceptible to a lot of that pushback. And that is because of the relationship and nature of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And it also has a lot to do with something called the law of reversed effort. And this is something that Neville referred to often. In simplest terms, basically states that when the conscious mind and subconscious mind are at odds with each other, it's going to be the subconscious mind that wins every time. To put it bluntly, we're not going to be able to just wrestle the subconscious mind into submission through conscious effort and willpower alone. And sadly, this is the approach that many people are taking here. Within the law of assumption community, it's mostly taught that we need to change our self-concept and focus on our mental diet. And to be abundantly clear, those are two things that are very important. This is not to say that we want to just completely dismiss the waking hours and what we should be feeling and doing in the day-to-day. But what I am saying is that if we are not utilizing the drowsy state, if we are forgetting or having trouble with really allowing ourselves to imagine deeply in that meditative state, this is where a lot of the time we run into a brick wall. Because it is in this drowsy state that your subconscious mind is most open to suggestion. This is where the guard is down, so to speak. That critical voice in the back of the mind, the resistance and anxiousness that we feel in the day-to-day, all of that begins to subside greatly as we fall asleep. As Neville said, the reason and importance of the drowsy state is that it is in that window that we are best able to hold our attention without effort. So because we are still conscious, we are still able to direct our attention, but because we are in that more drowsy state, we're going to be able to do so with the least amount of effort. And that is key. If you are trying to micromanage your thoughts in every waking moment of the day, trying to just flip your thoughts and bombard yourself with affirmations and wrestle with your own mind, tell me how that's going for you. And to be abundantly clear, for some people, this may be the best approach. It may be that conscious effort and willpower is the way to go for them. But I've yet to meet a single person where that was the case. Because the subconscious mind is infinitely more powerful than the conscious mind, and that one is running off of the beliefs and assumptions that we already hold, if what we are saying and doing consciously is in conflict with what we are believing and assuming, that is where resistance comes in. And that is where we're going to find ourselves pushing back against a lot of force. And if you take a moment to think about it, if you are someone who has been spending a lot of time just worrying about the mental diet, trying to flip or counter every negative thought, trying to affirm 1,000 times a day, has it really changed anything? Like, has it even changed those negative thoughts? Does it make those negative thoughts go away? Notice how, try as we might, no matter how many times we flip those damn thoughts, they keep coming back. And again, I never want to mean like I am speaking in absolutes. This is for those who are finding themselves struggling to see any results, see any movement, and perhaps notice a lot of inner confliction going on in the day-to-day. If that is the case, then I implore you to try a different approach. Try the drowsy state. And a really quick note, when I say SATS, when I'm talking about SATS, I'm not referring to visualizing in the state akin to sleep. An important thing to note, and something that gets lost on people, is that SATS is just the acronym for the groggy state. It's just that sleepy period. That's it. And what we are doing in that drowsy period can differ. Some people enjoy visualizations, some people enjoy inner conversations, some people enjoy affirmations that resonate and feel really good. So any technique can be used in the drowsy state. SATS just means that sleepy, twilight, deeply meditative period. That's it. So with all that said, how do we apply SATS? How do we go about doing this and taking advantage of that drowsy state? There are 4 tips or 4 things that I really want to emphasize that is going to help you with your daily SATS practice. I've noticed a few common themes with how people are applying SATS and how they are utilizing this state. And I just want to offer a few ways that I think is going to make it much easier for you. Tip number 1, and probably the biggest one I can emphasize here, is that you must be more relaxed. Probably the biggest area that I see people struggling with SATS and why it is so difficult for them is because they are still way too alert and awake when going into their scene. For example, many times people will just lay down or sit down, take a couple deep breaths, 2 or 3 deep breaths maybe, and then launch right into their scene when they are still very much awake and alert. And the idea here is to be in that groggy state. It is to be in that state that borders sleep. Hey, what's up, you guys? Missy from the future here. And I want to answer a question that I often get regarding SATS, and that is, how do I know when I'm actually in the state akin to sleep? Because this is probably the area that gets overlooked the most. We may think that we're in a state akin to sleep. We may try to make the scene come to life, but the key here is attention minus effort. And one thing that I often note is that a lot of times for the people who struggle with SATS is they're trying to launch into their scene too quickly. Basically, they're not giving themselves enough time to get deeply relaxed enough first. And to help paint a bigger picture in your mind, I want you to think about a time when you were trying to operate on very little sleep. Like, you know those days when we didn't get very good sleep the night before, maybe a couple hours at most, and we were so exhausted that we could barely keep our eyes open? That is the drowsy state. That state where you do not want to open your eyes, it feels damn near impossible to open your eyes. You could if you really had to, but you certainly don't want to. Some people mistake fantasizing before bed and imagining in the state akin to sleep, but the emphasis here needs to be on the SATS-like state, or the groggy, drowsy, hypnotic, or deeply meditative state. If we are trying to do this before we are naturally very relaxed, it's gonna feel like a lot of work, and I don't advise doing this. So make sure that you take advantage of that drowsy state. A great time you can do this is in the afternoon after a big meal, sometime where you're naturally more relaxed. But the key word here is relaxed and in that drowsy state. Think of the last time that you were so tired that you could barely keep your eyes open. That is how you know you are in the drowsy state. So I hope this helped a little bit. I hope this maybe brought some more clarity to you. And I hope this makes things easier going forward. Happy imagining, guys. So first thing that we have to make sure that we're doing is just going deeper. Just getting ourselves deeper and deeper relaxed and more into that floaty, warm, comfortable, groggy state. At a certain point, you may start to notice little lights flashing behind your eyelids. You might start to notice some colors and swirls, things of that nature. That is indicative of the drowsy state. But even if you do not reach that place, even if you do not get quite to that point, you'll know that you are in SATS because you will be so sleepy that although you could open your eyes, you really don't want to. Your eyelids should feel incredibly heavy. If it feels like you could just snap right to and right back awake, you are not relaxed enough. Tip number 2 goes hand in hand with number 1, but needs to be emphasized over and over again. Do not use effort here. Some of the ways in which we struggle is that we feel like we need to force the scene, so to speak. We need to worry about all of the little minute details about our scene. We're getting caught up in all the technical details of it. No, we want to drop all of that. Once you are genuinely in that drowsy state, you're gonna notice how effortless this truly is. In fact, the scene should be recalled and play out effortlessly. Like it's not even you that's consciously doing anything. Because the secret here is that it's not you that is consciously doing it. It is the subconscious mind that's doing the lifting here. If you begin to notice feelings of strain, effort, like it's feeling forced, like you're trying to make it happen, I want you to immediately drop it and go back to relaxing first. Once you're in that twilight state, the scene should feel effortless. So if you are efforting, you must drop it and relax. Once you are there, you should be able to recall it and have the scene play out effortlessly. Tip number 3 is be mindful of inconsistency. Inconsistency is part of the game killer here, and that goes for all of this as a whole. Many of the times we get stuck in very inconsistent patterns because we are such creatures of habit. I know it is going to be unfamiliar at first. I know that for many people, we are not used to using our imagination in this way. I know that it's going to be a little bit unfamiliar, and that's okay. But we truly want to be taking advantage of this, ideally every evening and every morning, because these are the two times that we are naturally in that state. Now, if you find that you are having difficulties utilizing this at night or in the morning, you can also pick a time in the afternoon or during the day to use SATS or go into SATS. SATS is just as effective if we are in a deep meditation. It doesn't even necessarily require us going all the way into sleep. But a great time of day that I do recommend for people, if you have a window to do so, is in the afternoon or evening after you've had a nice big meal and you're nice and comfortable and sleepy already. Bring back siestas. That is going to be a wonderful habit for 2024. But whether you are implementing in the evenings, mornings, or during the day, make sure that you are practicing at the same time every day. This is how it's going to start to become more subconscious and natural for you. And before you know it, you're just going to be doing it without even trying. Which brings me to tip number 4, the last one, and most important and apparent, and that is practice makes perfect, guys. I know that many of us here can be very hard on ourselves. You might have a perfectionist streak and feel like you need to have this done, nailed, in the bag immediately. Like I mentioned, this is a whole new way of thinking. This is a whole new ballgame for many, many people. Most did not grow up learning, knowing, or understanding the law. And when it comes to SATS and the drowsy state and utilizing this to our advantage, this too may take some practice. One of the best things that we can do to start to really get the hang of this is make sure that we are practicing and practicing, going hand in hand with that consistency. We want to make this not just a routine, but a whole ass lifestyle. Like learning any new skill, this may take some practice getting used to, and that is okay. Give yourself some grace and some time to truly get the hang of this. One of the things that I had to do when I was new to this, and I would get frustrated and impatient like everybody else, is remind myself that I need to step back and take a look at the bigger picture here. And the bigger picture showed me that even if it took a few weeks or even months to get the hang of this and really exercising my imagination, what was that compared to the rest of my life? If I had to dedicate a few weeks or even a few months to really getting the hang of this, and that meant that my lifestyle was going to radically change and that this was going to become something that is inherently part of me for the rest of my life, when you look at it that way, it's a no-brainer. So give yourself grace, give yourself patience, and understand that these things, like any new skill, may take some practice to really begin to see the fruits of it until it becomes natural for you. But once it does become natural, I can promise you, it will be absolutely worth it. And as a final note, I just want to reiterate that this does not mean we want to overlook our mental diet or to completely disregard observing where you are in the day-to-day. There are wonderful tools and techniques to help you keep on track in the day-to-day, but I felt the strong move to make this video as a reminder, if we are overlooking this, if we are not utilizing and taking advantage of this drowsy state, we're making things harder for ourselves than they need to be. Because sleep is truly the gateway to the subconscious mind. This is the window where your subconscious is most susceptible to impression and more open for suggestion without that critical mind nagging us in the back of our head. So while yes, it is important to make sure that we are being mindful in the day, that we want to be observant in the day, take note of the states that we're occupying, this is not about wrestling the subconscious mind into submission. And sadly, this is what I see a lot of people are doing, and certainly what I did for a very long time. And my whole aim here with this channel is to help you guys avoid a lot of the mistakes and pitfalls that I fell into when I was new on this journey. But if you take the time to practice implementation of this, if you give yourself the grace and understanding, once you put this into practice, once you really begin to get familiar with this, it will become the most natural and effortless thing in the world for you. And on that final note, here's a quote from Neville, really driving this point home. Desire, physical immobility, bordering on sleep, and imaginary action in which self-feelingly predominates here and now are not only important factors in altering the future, but they are essential conditions in consciously projecting the spiritual self. If, when the physical body is immobilized, we become possessed of the idea to do something and imagine that we are doing it here and now, and keep the imaginary action feeling going right up until sleep, ensures we are likely to awaken out of the physical body, finding ourselves in a dimensionally larger world with a dimensionally larger focus, and actually doing what we desired and imagined we were doing in the flesh. Use wisely this interval preceding sleep. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and go to sleep in this mood. At night, in a dimensionally larger world, when deep sleep falleth upon men, they see and play the parts that they will later play on earth, and the drama is always in harmony with that which their dimensionally greater selves read and play through them. Our illusion of free will is but ignorance of the causes which make us act. The sensation which dominates the mind of man as he falls asleep, though false, will harden into fact. Assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled as we fall asleep is the command to this embodying process, saying to our mood, "Be thou actual." In this way, we become, through a natural process, what we desire to be. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope it served as a good reminder. I hope it helped. If it did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you're interested in checking out any of my other resources, I have links down below to my coaching programs, my workshops and masterclasses, my podcast, my blog, my social channels. Got a ton of resources down in the description box below, so don't forget to check those out. Also, don't forget to check out the other videos on this channel. Be sure to check out my Manifestation Fundamentals playlist. Each video is a different topic, but they all go into how to manifest the best life possible. So until we meet again, you guys, as always, please take care, be well, and never forget that is the doorway to everything you desire and more. Happy manifesting, guys.